G to F. So it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we start out with a strum pattern on the E minor. So we have. Okay, so that was a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's going to be a very standard strum for this tune. So let's look at that one more time. Down, up. And if you can, you kind of want to stop these chords after the down, up. See how I stopped it right there? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So that can be kind of tricky. But that gives it kind of that rhythm that you want. But you could kind of just strum away and don't worry about that. See how it just sounds a little better? So I'm just taking my right hand and kind of muting the strings in between those. It's a little tricky because you got to come in with an up to keep your strumming straight. And then we're going to the G, and the G will have that F hit at the end of it. So da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, G, F, back to E minor, G, and this one's just straight G. And then we start the verse, so 2, 3, 4. Da-da-da-dum, E minor, going to C, G. So the second half of this verse is just the same as the first. So it's G, and then E minor, and then C, and then back to G. So let's try that from the G. 2, 3, 4. Da-da-da-dum, E minor. Going to C. G. Okay, then we have the bridge. So that's a D chord, and it's going to go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So basically just 1 on the top, and then all the rest straight, but you don't do the very last one before you go to the new chord. So we got 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And then we go to a C chord. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and... So those play all the way straight through. So from the D, we got. So we can have what's actually 4 bars of C. Second bar, third bar, fourth bar. Then we're going to go back to like a. So we're back to our old strum, that da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, to the F. And then we're back to this E minor. And then we have that melody, da-dum, da-da-dee-doo-dee-doo-doo-dee. So that's going to be coming in here too. This is another spot where that would happen after the intro. So we're back to this E minor here. Let's do the G with the F hit at the end. 3, 4. Going to G. We'll have the F hit. E minor again. And G. Stay on the G, we got our next verse. E minor, C, G, G again, E minor, C, going to D for our bridge, and then C, C again. It's actually 4 bars. Then we got our G. Okay, now we're in the solo, and we have a similar thing with the E minor to G, but we have a little different mix up here. So we got E minor, G, back to E minor, C, have another verse. E minor, C, G, G again, E minor, C, back to G, going to D for our bridge, C, keep going on C, back to the G strum pattern, to the F. Now we're doing the outro. We're just doing E minor and G. And that fades out. Okay, so this is also taken from the video version. It's like a black and white video of Thin Lizzy from the 70s, I think. That is the arrangement I'm using, so I don't know if there's some different arrangements. I looked at one tab and it seemed like there was some extra parts in there. They may have a longer version than this. So this is like the 3-minute, 34-second version. Okay, now we're gonna look at this melody thing here. So it's gonna start here. So when it first happens in the beginning of the song, it's like 2, 3. So it waits till right after the 3. 1, 2, 3. But then later in the song, when you're getting into the coming out of the bridge, seems like it starts earlier there. So listen for kind of timing and stuff. But the riff is 2 7s on the G string. And the first one is staccato, so you stop it real quick. Hammer, 7 to 9. 7 down here in the B string. 8 to that 9. So it's. So it's 7, 7 again. Hammer, 7, 9. 7, 8. 9 on the G, 7 on the B. 7 on the G, and then 9, 8. So it does that 3 times, then it goes kind of a slide down on the 7 to the open. So you could do that either like sliding it. So it's 7 to open. And then 0, 2, 4. So you could do a double hammer. So it's da da da, 0, 2, 4, however you want to do that. To that 3. And then back to the G string, 0, 2, 0. Quick slide to the 4. So it's. Okay, so the whole thing real slow. Okay, and now we're going to go into the page 2 of the tab. Has this really cool double string thing with great melodies that happens underneath the vocal. So we got. Okay, so let's get into that. So we got first measure is 3 open. This is 3 on the second string, open on the G string. We're gonna do this 3 times. 3 0 3 0 3 0, and then 5 0. So that's our first measure. 3 0 3 times and 5 0 once. So, and then we're gonna have 3 0 and then open open. And at the end of that, we're gonna go 0 3. So we got 2 measures so far, and look at your tab on this. This will help if you can download this tab and try to play along. It makes it a lot easier. So. kind of slide that one if you can. Or you could just play it normal for this, you know, to get started. And if you slide it, you don't have to pick it that time. So we have 3 5s and a 7 on that one. And then we have 5, open, open, 0, 3, 5, 7, 8, 8, 7, 5, 3, 5, 8, 8, 7, 5, 3, 3, 3, 0. So like I say, the tab is very helpful with this, so. Okay, I kept going there because I realized it is basically repeating itself. When we get to the 8, 8, 7, 5, 3, 5, 8, 8, 7. Now this is gonna be the last measure before the bridge. We got 5, 3, 3, 0, 4. So that's kind of a new measure there. So the bridge is gonna be 2 open on these 2 big strings 3 times, and then pull off the 2 open. Then we're going to go 2, 0, 4, 0, 4, 0, 4, 0. And then we're going to go. So we have an open on the big one. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. They have a pull off on there. I kind of don't really hear that one. But they're saying there's a pull off there in this tab. So you could either kind of hold on that note or try to pull it off. 5s, 7s. And that's the second 2 strings, second and third. 5, 5, 7, 7. If you use this first finger, then you kind of have these 2 fingers ready for the 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9. And we have a pull off. And then we have 8, 9. And we have 10, 11. And then we're going to flip this and get a 12, 13. And then we end with 2 to 4 to the 5 down here, 2 to 4 on G. Then we have a 3, 4, 2, hammer on, pull off, open. So the bridge again. Okay, so take your time on that with the tab. And that was Whiskey in the Jar for St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to have our E flat chord. We have 5, 3, 4, and 3. Trying to get that bar chord. Or you could just try to play the 3 bottom strings and get that 3, 4, 3, like a D shape. But it's a little bit easier to get the down and up strumming if you have the kind of correct full chord. So we've got a basic strum like. So it's kind of like 1, 2, 3, and. 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and E and 1, 2, 3, and. Now, if you want to do something a little fancier with that, you can kind of get this finger up here and do this little hammer on. Okay, so it does that a whole bunch of times. I think it's like 6 times, then he starts singing. So you got. When he starts singing, he'll do 4 of these E flats. And now we're going to B flat. 3rd fret on the top 3 strings. Try to mute the bottom one. That's kind of an easy way to do that if you get used to it. Or you got your B flat like this. Okay, so once again from the verse. 3, 4. flat. 2 times of that, and back. And then the next verse. B flat. Back to E flat. Okay, so that's kind of the easy part. Now it gets fun here. We got this. So we have 3 and 3. That's on the G string and the E string. So you want to bar that. Or you could do different fingers if you want. You could go like. That'd be one good way to do it. I just kind of bar it. 3, 3, 5, 5, and then 7, 6. And then you're going to hit an A flat chord, which is like an F shape here on the 4th, 5th, and 6th fret, right? And then you're back to your E flat. And then we got that riff again. A flat. Then it's going to go to B flat. And you could also do this riff. So that's really kind of the cool part right there. Okay, so let's take a look at a verse again. 3, 4. B flat. 2 measures of that. Back to E flat. Okay, I'm gonna go into that riff now. Here we go. A flat. Back to E flat. Riff. A flat. And then we have this B flat riff. So that is 7 and 6, 8, 8, 10, 10, and then. Okay, so it starts on the 6th fret, kind of a B flat chord shape. And then it pops up here. And now we have one more riff in this tune. It's kind of a. Keep strumming that E flat. Okay, so you got your 8 and 9, kind of a hammer-on pull-off. And then you got your 6 here. You're going to go to the G string, the 8th fret, and you're going to come back in with the hammer. 6 to 8 here on the B string. So it's like. And then that chord strums a little bit more. And then B flat. And then that riff. Okay, now the first time that happens in the song, we jump back into this thing. E flat. A flat. And then we got that B flat riff. And then you're back there and he's singing again in E flat. Okay, so let's look at everything here again. So we have, obviously we have the intro. Our strum again is kind of like a. So you can make it a little busier, less busy, whatever you like. That's your basic groove for the beginning. And then he'll be singing for 4 of these. And you go to B flat. And if you have trouble with that one, you know, do your standard kind of B flat. And like I said, with this E flat, if you just want to try that, if it's a little bit too tough to get that bar thing going, then just try this guy. Just try to kind of mute that big string. That way you can strum back and forth and still get what you want without hearing, like, you wouldn't want that bass note from the big string because that's not for that chord, you know. Okay, so once again. So we got your E flats, B flat, and back. And now once again, that bridge. So 3 3 5 5 7 6, and then an A flat chord, which is an F on the 4th fret, basically. E flat. Riff again. 3 3 5 5 7 6, A flat. Now we have the B flat riff, or you could just make it simple and just play that chord. But when you're ready, you got this riff. That's a good fun one. Okay, then you're back to E flat, more singing, and then he has that hit thing. Once again, that was. Strum that chord again, and then you got B flat. Come back. And then at the end, one more B flat. And E flat, and you're done. Hey folks, here's a quick and easy lesson on Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. So our first chords, we're going to have G and C, and then G and D. And you can do one of those easy strums that's like down, down, up, down, up. You could also kind of go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, that kind of a strum. So the first one was down, down, up, down, up. Super common one, I'm sure you've seen. So, and you guys, I'm sure, know these chords. You got G is open, 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 3. C is 2, open, 1, open. D is open, 2, 3, 2. So the intro is going to be 4 times of that. And then we have a little melody part that we can play on it too. So I'll play that once. And then how about I slow that down? We try to play that along together if you're trying to learn this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. G, C coming up, G, D. Let's see if we can speed it up just a little bit. A little bit more. There goes last time, a little faster. Then we're getting more into the tempo of the real song right there already. Okay, now there's a little easy riff. There's a couple ways we can do this. There's a super easy way, and then there's a more complicated way that sounds just like the record. But our first little riff we can do for this intro is on the 2nd string. We'll go. So 0, 1, 3, 1, 0. And then we're going to go to the small string. Do the same thing. And then go back to the 2nd string again. Then we're going to hit the D string, open, the big string. Then we'll go to this 4, and then we'll come down here to the G string and go 0, 2. So that was. So you kind of hold that D bass note a little bit. Boom, 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 boom. And then you're back to. Okay, so let's try that together nice and slow. From the 0, 1, 3, 1, 0, and then down. And then back to the first one, and then that little D thing. Here we go. 2, 3, and. One more time. Okay, and then we're going to be in a verse. And that's going to be the same kind of strum and stuff. So we're gonna do that 4 times. Then we're gonna move into like the chorus. It's gonna go C to D, and then G to E minor. And E minor is that 2, open, open, open. Then C to D again. And then G to D. And then the second verse will start. Let's do that second verse. We'll just do it once through, and then we'll go to the C to D change. And we're gonna have a different ending this time. We're gonna have extra D chords, and that's gonna take us into that sha-la-la part. So here goes G to C, G to D for the second verse, just one time. 2, 3, and. And then we got our C to D coming up. G to E minor. C to D again. G. Now this time on the D, 2, 3, 4, 2 bars, 3 bars, and then back to the main chords in the sha-la-la part. And that next verse is going to end the same way, so we'll go through that again. Here's the sha-la-la twice. Now we're going to go G twice. And then there's a bass breakdown. So we lay out for, let's see, 4 bars for the bass, and then we come back in on the next verse. So we'll do another one of these into the chorus change. So here goes the C to D chorus change. G to E minor. C to D. G. Back to D. Then we hold the D again. Here's the second one. And the third one. And then back in your sha-la-la. Now if you wanted to make a little more intrigue in your sound, there you could go. You could make it a D7 on those kind of 2 extra Ds. So it kind of goes from a G to a D to finish off that chorus progression, but then it adds the 2 extra Ds. You could make those D7s if you want. So it would sound like, you remember when we used to sing. So that gives it a cool little spin if you want. You can make that D7 on kind of any of the Ds where you think it sounds good, you know. Now let's look at, when we get to that last sha-la-la, it just repeats itself a bunch of times, and that's when the song ends and fades out. So there's one more thing with the... Now, if we wanted to get up here and look at this little harmony part, we could play 2 parts at once here. So it's doable. It's a bit of a, getting up the neck there, but it's not that hard. If you can get the one finger kind of tall to stand over the other string so you're not like dragging down and blocking it. You really want your fingertips on this. But that would be 7th fret here and 8th fret here. 8 and 7 at the same time. And then we're moving that up to the 8 with the 10 here. And then taking that shape up so it's 10 and 12. So we got bum, 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 bum. And then we're going to come up here to the 12th fret and the 13th fret. And do the same type of pattern. So it's 12 and 13, then it's 13 and 15, and then it's 15 and 17, and back. And then you go back to the first one. So that one's going to be 7 and 7 on the 2 middle strings, the 3rd string and 2nd string. You're going to hit those 7s, wait a second, and then hit 8 and 10 on the 2nd string. So altogether, this is going to sound like. And you could hit that chord kind of twice when you go. Okay, all right, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll have some tabs to go with this. And there's a lot of super fancy guitar picking and stuff in this. If anybody wants to know something about that, let me know, and I can do a follow-up lesson where I can break down a lot of those little riffs and things that are happening in there. They're very cool. All right, so thanks a lot. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Damon Wood, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks a lot. All right, we're going to do some Van Morrison today. We're going to do Moondance and Into the Mystic. So Moondance is going to be an A minor chord. 7, 5, 5, 5. I'm going to bar those fives down there. And we're just going to be moving up to a B minor chord. So it's like a... Okay, so it's like a bass chord, bass chord, bass chord, bass chord. Kind of switches around with the rhythm there, you know. Okay, so let's try to play that together real slow. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so basically that's the first third of the tune. There's like 3 different parts. The next thing we're going to go to this D minor 7, 7, 5. You just put a 6 in there. That becomes like a D minor 7 chord. Okay, that's the second part of the tune. So we have this D minor 7 come in, 3 and 4 and... So it's like a 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 4. Rest, 1, 2, 3, and rest, 1, 2, 3. That's the E7 raised 9 there. We got 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to use this E7 9 for the turnaround, both of these last 2 parts of the song, but it could be like E minor 7 if you want, or E minor like that if you don't like that Jimi Hendrix sounding chord all the time. So we're going to have down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. So 3 times of those, and then rest, 1, 2, 3, and rest, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're getting into the third part of the song. So it's like it's on an upbeat on this A minor to D minor 7. So it's like... So it's like da-dum, 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 da-dum. And then at the end of that, you can hit that turnaround chord again. A minor, B minor. D minor 7. A minor, then rest, rest, D minor 7, and rest, E7 sharp 9. So rest, and now the last part, A minor, D minor 7. Okay, so that's about it for that one, Moondance. We have an E flat chord to start. So this is the top 8s. We're going B flat. Into the mystic. that's basically how that part goes. Down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. B flat. Now we have, so we're going 3 to 3 on the G string, the 3rd string, down to the 1st string, the E string. 5 5 7 6, and then we're gonna go A flat chord, 6 5 4 4, where the B flat was the 8 7 6 6. So we got, and then A flat. So jang, jang, jaganga, jang, janga, jang, same thing, and then back to E flat. Twice. And then before that's quite done, we have that little pickup, again, A flat. Now we're going B flat. Takes you back. Okay, so there's this killer riff when you get to the B flat at some points in this tune, where they get into like a, you get these double stops going, so it's the 7 and 6 on the 3rd and 1st, to the 8 and 8, 10 10, and then it's 12 11, 13s, 15s, so it's like, all right, so that was like the verses and the choruses. Once again, we got like a, that's the top 3 strings, 8s, that's an E flat. You could also do that over here, 5 3 4 3. To B flat. You could also do a B flat over here, 3s with a 6 on the bottom. Back to E flat, whichever one you like to do. So it does that a couple times. Then we had that. So that's 3 3, 5 5, 7 6 on the 3rd and 1st strings. A flat. Back to E flat. Same thing. A flat. Now we're going to B flat. Okay, now we're going to get into these little series of hits where it's like, so we hit that E flat twice. Bump. And then you have a little melody here. This is like a 8 9 8 6 to the 8 over here on the G, 6 to 8 hammer on the B. Okay, so it's, and again, and then we're gonna have B flat, and then we can get into this riff of double stops. So that's 7 to 6, just like right out of the chord. 8 8, 10 10, 12 11, 13s, 15s. So it ends up going. Then we'll go to B flat. Okay, and then in the song you go back, at that point, unless it's the end, and then it just ends with like that kind of thing. All right, Van Morrison, couple great tunes, Moondance and Into the Mystic. Thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you soon.